The Secrets of Technology is brought to you by the StarQuest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit sqpn.com/give. Hi, I'm Dom Bettinelli, and you're listening to The Secrets of Technology, where we discuss the technology news that's important to you from a uniquely Catholic point of view. And joining me today on the panel are Victor Lambs. Hey, Victor.
Hi, Dom.
And Father Joseph Sund. Hey, Father.
Good to be with you.
Folks, I want to tell you about another show on the StarQuest Network you are sure to enjoy called The Catholics of Oz. You can find that wherever fine podcasts are found or at sqpn.com/Oz. Find out what's going on with our Catholic friends down in Australia. But right here on Secrets of Tech, I want to start off with a little bit of feedback from our recent episode on health and wellness technology. That was a couple episodes ago. Sandy sends in an email, and Sandy says, having just this week listened to your podcast on health and wellness tech, it reminded me of a news report about a woman who was killed, and the police used her Fitbit to figure out who killed her. And there's a link to the story, which is kind of an amazing story about. I won't get into all the details of how they did it. I'll put the link in the show notes, and you can check it out. But yeah, it's kind of amazing how our quantified life is tracking us in ways that maybe are good and maybe not so good, as we've seen. Also, Sandy goes on and says, also just a comment about tracking sleep. I've used both Fitbit devices and Apple Watch, but I couldn't track my sleep with the Apple Watch because the battery wouldn't last all day and through the night. Thanks to everyone at SQPN. I listen to several of your podcasts and enjoy them very much. Thanks, Sandy. Well, on that last point about the Apple Watch lasting through the night, I was surprised when I got my new Apple Watch last year, Series 8. The battery life is dramatically better. I could wear it all day and through the night, and then just throw it on the charger for an hour in the morning while I'm in the shower or whatever, and have it be, back at it again. So it's, so the newer ones do have better battery life, but honestly, I don't like wearing stuff to track my sleep, on me. I don't like wearing things at night. And again, if you've listened to the episode, you heard my story about the, ending up in the ER and almost getting an MRI because my Fitbit caused me to have a neurological issue because I slept on it, like my forehead on it, and it caused all the nerves on half of my head to go dead. I won't get into
goodness.
It. Yeah, I was in the ER for 24 hours for that. If you haven't heard that one, go back and listen to that. So a little cautionary tale. So since then, I just I don't like wearing things overnight. I like the sleep tracker that goes under the mattress, and and it's been there. I've had it for years and years, and it's worked great. It's always done a good job of tracking my sleep. But thank you, Sandy, for the feedback. I appreciate that. All right, and so let's move on to our main topic of this episode, which is we're going to talk about cleaning your technology, all of your different devices, because folks, let me tell you, your tech is gross. So whether it's your cell phone or your computer keyboard or your monitor or just even the desk that your stuff sits on, this stuff gets dirty. It attracts dust and other grime and bacteria and whatnot. And it makes sense if you think about it, because we take our phones everywhere with us, right? Everywhere. Let's be clear. Everyone takes it into the bathroom with them. I mean, it's just, it's a fact that people do that. And, just stuff gets gross. And there's an article, I think you might've shared that, Victor, the article from the University of Michigan study.
Oh, yeah, that wasn't me, but
okay. That was me. Okay, that was me.
I should have guessed. Yeah. Well, so it says that your cell phone is 10 times dirtier than a toilet, which is really gross.
It's not dirtier than my toilets. I have 4 boys.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, what does it mean by dirtier and, like what is dirty and that sort of thing? But the fact is, they found, 17,000 bacterial gene copies on the phones of high school students. Scientists at the University of Arizona had found that cell phones carry 10 times more bacteria than most toilet seats, et cetera, et cetera. But, and, I would wonder about other things that we carry with us every day. How about our keys, our shirts, our pants, our shoes, other stuff we're touching all the time. The fact is, there's a lot of dirty stuff around us, but that doesn't negate the fact that our cell phones, as much as anything, more than any of our tech, are in our hands and around our food and other stuff much more than other tech. So it's important to think about this topic. So we're going to go over some stuff, some gadgets and other tools to keep our stuff clean, and some principles of cleaning things. So let's talk about some of I love talking about stuff, gadgets and things to buy. So let's start there. Maybe the first thing to think about is, like, what do we use to clean our tech with? And it's important, like, electronics and water don't mix. So avoid water.
Yeah.
So what do we use? What do you guys use as a cleaning agent to clean things?
Well, my go-to for everything is probably the cheapest, and that is using isopropyl alcohol for basically everything. If you have a paper towels that aren't abrasive, there's a brand called Viva that almost has like this cloth-like feeling to it that I'll use, and then I'll use a isopropyl. If I have to clean off small areas, I'll use a Q-tip with alcohol on it.
Right. Yeah, I like to, especially like when I'm cleaning my keyboard, it's isopropyl alcohol and a Q-tip all the time. Getting in there and getting the crumbs and gunk out and that sort of thing. We're all shedding our hair and our skin cells everywhere. So it piles up, and so it's worthwhile getting in there, especially with a lot of these non-mechanical keyboards with like the butterfly keys and that sort of thing. Even the slightest bit of grit or dirt under it can prevent it from working properly. So
let's be clear. The first thing you should do before cleaning anything that you're putting a liquid onto is that, regardless of how low voltage it is, I know your keyboard's extremely low voltage, unplug it. Right. Yeah. Unplug.
Turn it off. Unplug it.
Yeah. Best you can. The reality is, though, especially for like electronics, like there's still electricity in them, whether it's, that this power, this flow, so in your phone, even when it's off, there's still a battery in it, or your watch or your laptop, or, even like a motherboard. You can't put your iPad in the dishwasher. Just don't do it, folks. But so we start with no water. Isopropyl alcohol is one option. Of course, compressed air is another way of cleaning some things off. Although I don't love the compressed air canisters because, as our chemistry class or physics class told us, as the pressure releases, it gets cold and the can freezes up, and you got to wait for it to warm up again.
And you can't spray it from all the different angles, and it's expensive. What I found on Amazon is it's a USB charged, it has a battery, and it's a handheld fan it's just basically a fan with a nozzle on it. It has a flashlight on it too, but it blows just about as fast as compressed air. It's around $20, which is the cost of maybe 4 or 5 cans of compressed air anyways. And you can run it for as long as you need to clean out a whole PC case or something. So it's not like a compressed air where you have to wait or have several cans that you're cycling through. So I haven't used compressed air since I've gotten that fan, just because it's so, and it works a lot better, and you can use it a lot longer. So that definitely works. Q-tips. I love Q-tips and alcohol and isopropyl alcohol. Cleaning contacts on like old game cartridges and stuff. I found sometimes though that regular Q-tips are too fuzzy and leave lint behind. So there are, special cleaning swabs you can buy, which have, much denser, felt or fabric on the cotton or whatever on the end and don't shed. And also the tips are shaped as, cones, or they're a lot easier to get into things such as, charging ports and stuff to clean contacts down in there. So those are good as well. I've had really good luck with those. But isopropyl.
Yeah. I was gonna say the cotton swab cleaning swabs, sometimes called gun cleaning swabs. They're generic. There's a million of the different brands of them on Amazon. Just look for ones that talk about having a pointed tip or tight tip or cleaning, that sort of thing. I was gonna say the compressed air duster is the one you linked that you get there is the Recibi, Reesibi. But there might be others out there like it.
Yeah.
But just look for ones that have like some strong, powerful. They need to be able to blow some air. Make some directed air. I think that's the key.
Yeah, and if you're putting on a screen protector, you got dust on your screen. It's good for doing the final dust off before you put your screen protector on.
Right.
Like list price on it, I think was like $60, but it's always on sale for don't spend more than $20 because it's a battery powered fan. That's super. So yeah, I think that's about a good price for it, but I found it to be a pretty effective alternative to compressed air.
That's a pretty I wouldn't pay $60, but the $20 I might pay. That's a pretty good deal. So that's good. And then when you want to, you don't want to put like vinegar or any ammonia based cleaners, glass cleaners on any computer screens or your phone, your camera, your monitor screens, anything like that, because there are coatings on these different devices, on the glass of these devices, that get stripped off by the harsh chemicals that are in window cleaner. So you want something that's a little more dedicated to cleaning these types of screens. Now you can just use a damp, not wet, a damp cloth to get most of the junk off, and maybe to clean off oily smudges or fingerprints, that sort of stuff. But there's also, you could use stuff that's dedicated for the use of either camera lenses or eyeglass cleaners, because those are supposed to be, careful, of the coatings that are on them. Do you guys have any particular kinds of like wipes or sprays that you like for that?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of, they're 4 cents a piece. If you buy them in bulk on Amazon, they're called Optics 55 eyeglasses wipes. And they're rubbing alcohol, isopropyl alcohol based. But and individually wrapped, I carry around like 3 or 4 of those with me pretty much at all times, so I can clean my phone, clean my glasses, clean my Fitbit, anything else I come into contact with, webcam, lenses, that sort of thing. It's actually kind of a joke because I carry these in all of my pockets, and I'll go on walks around the neighborhood, and as I'm pulling my phone out, these things will fall out, and they have a very distinctive bright green package each, and so my family can actually tell where I've been around the neighborhood by these breadcrumbs that have fallen out. And I'll walk the same path a couple of days later, and I'll be like, "Oh, that's mine. I better pick that up." But
so as you litter the neighborhood with your wipes. But it's great. It's like a box of 600 on Amazon is like $25. That's a lot of cleaning.
Yeah, you just
not much.
Grab a handful and go.
So I had back on one of our cheap Christmas episodes, one of my picks was these mini little eyeglass cleaners.
Oh yeah.
That go on both sides of the lens. They have a little circular thing. I have found that those work really good with touch cleaning for my cell phone as well. So I already have one sitting in my car most of the time. And so I just pull it out and use it on my cell phone as well, which now that I read that Michigan article, I'm wondering if I really should be putting that on my glasses and on my cell phone. But
Right. Yeah, it's probably want to clean that cell phone before you put that on it. Another one is something for like bigger screens, because those wipes are kind of small. There was you had a link here to something called Whoosh.
Yeah, I've used it in the past, for cleaning like a large TV. It is a spray cleaner, but it just seems to be a lot nicer than most of the Meyer brand ammonia-free glass cleaner that you might buy. it's specifically designed for cleaning tech and screens, doesn't streak, doesn't leave residue, but you just want to make sure you have some clean, fluffy microfiber cloths with it, and be very careful about, spraying. It generally is better to spray onto the cloth and then wipe the screen, because I think I have ruined at least one TV through the years. I don't think it was an LCD TV, by overspraying the screen and having the juice run down, and I think it fried the like one of the controllers inside of the. Yeah, it was like an old, TV monitor thing.
This was one of my tales of woe of getting smart boards into schools, especially in Catholic schools where we have trained the teachers to be cheap. And I walked into the horror of seeing a teacher spray Windex on the brand new smart board. And so I actually, this very product, this Whoosh stuff, we bought a bottle for each of the rooms, which I had to justify to my principal why it was worth $20 to buy a bottle of this stuff. But I think the very name of it just kind of gave them the entertainment of using it. And so it got the point across. So I was happy with that.
$20 is a lot less than a lot more than a smartboard costs. So yeah.
$3,500 a board is what they cost.
Yeah.
So
I'd spend the $20. And you mentioned, Victor, microfiber cleaning cloths. Have plenty. Use them up. Throw them away when they get messed up and get some more. They're relatively inexpensive as long as you're not buying the ones that are Apple branded. And but they're great for this. They don't streak. They don't. Once they get dirty, they do start to streak on the screen. I mean, they're not perfect, but when they're clean and relatively fresh, they're really great at cleaning these things. So, and they don't leave dust and fibers behind, or they don't scratch the screen, which is important.
Yeah, and you can wash them in a washing machine. Just don't use any fabric softeners, because then you'll get fabric softener over whatever you're trying to clean later, like streaks of downy and stuff. Yeah, but you can wash them. I mean, at that point, they're pretty much like polishing cloths. For silverware or whatever, more than, I don't know if people polish silverware anymore, but whatever you like
rags,
hardware and stuff. Yeah, they're more useful for that than actually but they're so cheap if you buy like Amazon Basics brand or whatever.
Just don't use it on your phone once you start using it on your silverware.
No, yeah.
Yes, because of that,
you'll get
phone.
Brasso all over your phone.
Well, let's do something about that dirty phone that you have. One of the things that became really popular back in 2020 were these UV sanitizers, these various products. And there's a question, like, do these work? And what it is, it's usually like this little coffin or casket that you put your phone in, or some type of box that the phone goes in. And inside are these UV lights, ultraviolet lights. And you run it through a period of time where these lights are bathing your phone in these non-destructive, wavelengths of light, and
non-destructive to phones. We should say
phones. Yes,
they can be very destructive to eyes and skin. So
right, which is why when they go inside this, you keep the device closed while it's operating, and destructive to bacteria and viruses and things like that. And so I've got a couple articles that I'll link in the show notes that back up with laboratory testing that these UV sanitizers do work to kill bacteria and viruses, and including many coronaviruses. The COVID is not the only coronavirus. There's lots of different ones, but killing many different viruses and things like that. And so there's not going to be any particular one that I'm going to link of these. There's many on the market, but there's links to some in the stories that I'll link, like Simply Human, who tends to have kind of expensive but very nice stuff. They're sort of the Apple of the home cleaning businesses. They have a $200 Simple Human Clean Station, it's called. It's a countertop model that you stick your phone in like a toaster, and it goes in, and then when it's done, it comes back up again. But there's one like the Belkin Boost Charge UV sanitizer and wireless charger. And it's a little box. You put the phone inside. And it's $50 to put the phone inside, and it UV sanitizes it, and it charges your phone while it's at it. Phone soap is another one. So there's a bunch of these.
They were very difficult to get in the early days of the pandemic. And so I may have taken a cardboard box, lined it with tinfoil, gotten an aquarium UV light, and tried to make my own, which I would not under any circumstances recommend. But back in the fog of war, any sort of sanitization seemed
back
like
in the days of the pandemic, children. Gather around while I tell you the tales.
I have a phone soap, and I really like the way it works. One side note on it, though, is though it's going to kill the germs on your phone, it's not going to get rid of those dust bunnies or fingerprints or anything like that. You have to still, so it's not like this substitute for cleaning your phone.
Right. It's another
you're
step.
Still,
yeah.
It's to help you not be a germaphobe or to be a germaphobe.
Right. Well, and that's the thing. So like wiping it off with a cloth may or may not kill all the germs, but putting it in the phone soap or the sanitizer will kill the germs. Then wiping it off with a moist towelette of some sort, or the isopropyl alcohol towels or whatever, will then clean it. And it's a two-step process. You got to do both parts if you really want to have a clean phone.
Yeah, and the isopropyl alcohol will. Yeah.
If you sew a red cross on the cloth and then you use it during mass, I think it kills germs, though.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tread those waters there.
Yeah.
The communion cup, yes. Now, Victor, I think you linked to something about something that cleans a contact cleaner, and this isn't like eye contacts. This is something else.
No, this is so yeah. This may get more into restoration versus cleaning, but sometimes you will have a device with corroded or dirty battery terminals, or an old Nintendo cartridge with corrosion or dirt on the contacts, and there's, gosh, I spray this stuff on probably too much, but alcohol isn't just cutting it, so to speak. So a can of Deoxit D5, which is not sure if it's naphtha based or what exactly it is, but it's a chemical solvent that evaporates very quickly, so it leaves your contacts and stuff, after you wipe it off, it's like it was never there. So I can, recommend that. It is pretty expensive. WD-40 has their own branded contact cleaner as well, which is, I think, like half or 1/4 the price, and it, works almost as good. But if you have like an old, toy or piece of vintage electronics with corroded, metal contacts, you can hit it with that, a little brushing or your Q-tip, and you're usually pretty good to go.
I use WD-40 when I'm restoring game consoles, especially ones that were black, because there's an oil you want on it to give it a shine. And the WD-40 actually gets that shine back into it without being too oily.
Nice. I'll have to give that a try. Yeah.
So, Victor, you also mentioned, with a warning from Father not to get too far down this rabbit hole, something called retrobrighting. What's that all about?
Yeah, so we might be getting into more of the restoration here, and I'll let Father take over. But I'm just going to set up the infomercial pitch here. It's like, has this ever happened to you? You pick up a piece of vintage electronics, an old Commodore 64, or anything that used to be white or light gray. And there you go, an old, what is that? A Toshiba notebook.
Satellite.
Yeah, and so it's been left out in the sun, and just with age, you get that nasty yellowy plastic sheen to it. Well, have we got an inexpensive yet somewhat time-intensive process for you? Take it away, Father.
Yeah, and so it's a little complicated. There's certain chemicals and stuff you use. If you go to your local Walmart to buy the stuff, they might call the cops on you on everything you're buying, thinking you're brewing something up. But the goal is ultimately that you're bleaching, really, your electronic back to its original white. So
using the power of OxyClean.
Yep, as
literally.
Yep, literally, you're
it's
using OxyClean.
Yeah, oxygen activated bleach.
us on video here could see, I had readily within reach a yellowed electronic in reach. I have many of those laying around. So it just kind of gives you that, you just bought it at your CompUSA in the 90s and you have it now feel again. So.
Right. It makes it restores it. Yeah. I mean, sometimes, especially if the stuff has been a house or apartment or office where smoking was going on. Yeah. Like I remember getting a Tandy 100 decades ago, used from someone who was a smoker, and it just came out of the box. And for one thing, I opened the box and I'm like, oh, it smells like a bar. It was like, woof. Although bars today, I guess, aren't smoky. Yeah. And smells like the old KFC. But the Tandy 100 itself was just, yellowed and, that awful color of, of smoke stained stuff. And so having the ability to clean things at least like that is useful. But that's a whole rabbit hole. And just look on YouTube, retro brighting, and it will take you all through that. You'll find plenty of things to look at.
Hours upon hours of videos that have all already been watched by me.
Yes. Yeah, and that nicotine sheen, that's actually they make sprays for prop designers called nicotine washer, nicotine spray. And that's what it's called. And you spray it on your prop or your costume or whatever that you want to look a little antiqued and faded and have that kind of lived in. And it just, probably contains no actual nicotine, just pigments, but it gives it that kind of that yellowy, sickly sheen to it.
Some of us are trying to fix it, and some of them are trying to make it that way.
Now, I don't care what the Tandy Model 100 smells like. A Tandy Model 100 is still a Tandy Model 100.
I know. I kind of wish I still had it today. That thing is long gone. So I want to go through some tips for cleaning, just some general tips. Like we said, make sure to power off your devices or unplug them and unplug them. Frankly, you should power off and unplug. Then always use microfiber cloths as much as possible, especially on screens. Paper towels, maybe on the outsides of, of a laptop or that sort of thing would be fine. And if you can find lintless paper towels or, relatively lint-free, that would be the thing to do if you don't have a microfiber. Blown air or compressed air if you don't have the blower like Victor was talking about. But when you blow into something, like when you're trying to blow dust off or blow other things off, blow it so that it's blowing out.
Yes.
So you don't want to be forcing the stuff further in to the keyboard or the computer. One of the things I like to do every once in a while is I turn off I have network attached storage. They run 24/7. Every 6 months or so, I turn them off and I take them outside and I just open them up and blow from the inside out all the dust. And it is amazing how much dust is inside, coating all the electronics. Dust is an insulator. Insulation means heat. Heat is the death of electronics. I mean, so you want your electronics to live longer, get the dust off. Same thing with your computer. If you have not so much a laptop because there's not much you can do about it, but if you have a desktop computer of any sort, you want to open that up and blow the dust out occasionally. Keyboards are, as I mentioned, although one thing I like to do, I don't have a mechanical keyboard anymore. I have the Apple Magic Keyboard. I like to get on my keyboards, whether it's the desktop keyboard or the laptop keyboard, a keyboard cover, which is a thin plastic shaped sheet that goes over it that prevents stuff from getting inside of the keys. It's just better that way. Plus, it also I hammer my keyboard like a sledgehammer fingers, and so this prevents me from wearing out the keys. So
when I think of those covers, though, I think of you going into the car shop, where the cover has never been replaced, and it's just this
yellow greasy membrane.
The car bra with the car cover on the front, and the paint is faded all around it. Yeah. Keyboard cleaning tools. I want to recommend one that I've been using called it's from OXO, the people who also make your I'm trying to find now where'd that go? I had a link to that in the show notes, but now I'm not seeing it. Oh, there it is. The OXO Good Grips cleaning brush for electronics. Now OXO makes a lot of kitchen gear, but this is something for your keyboard. And what's nice about it has on each end there's a different brush, one that's a little firmer and one that's more like a paintbrush, like very soft. and it's great for cleaning off, tight spaces around keyboards, especially, and that sort of thing. And it's made of the same stuff that microfiber is from, so it won't scratch. So it's a nice little thing, and it's only, what was it, $9? So it's pretty inexpensive for what it is. So something to think about.
Yeah, it looks like they've been branching out from, spatulas into like tech cleaning stuff. They have a couple products, it looks like.
Yeah, they have
like
the deep clean brush set. That way you don't have to use your toothbrushes. Although I'm going to guess that the bristles here are better for your electronics than toothbrush bristles
probably.
are.
Pro tip: use someone else's toothbrush for cleaning your tech gear.
Yes, just like I always used my brother's toothbrush to clean the toilet.
And once again, don't use your toothbrush after it goes on your phone.
Right. So then, cable management. Cables get dusty and dirty. If you keep your cables up off the floor, keep them bundled, as if you can. I know you don't want to see my cable management under my desk. It looks terrible. I always have good intentions, and then the cables end up going in all directions. But cables are a thing that you might want to clean every once in a while.
I'm pretty sure I don't have a cable yet that hasn't been introduced to my Roomba. So
right. I like to keep a case on my phone at all times. I have I use the Apple MagSafe case, the clear one. I think it's just the best case for the phone. I know people there are all kinds of cases out there, but this is the kind I like. The one thing about that is eventually dirt and dust and sand or whatever gets inside, and then so that's the case is no longer protecting the phone. It's actually holding the gritty stuff against it. So you got to get in there and clean out that case. Take the case off every once in a while and clean it. And I know a lot of people like screen protectors. I've never liked it. I mean, I've really tried to like it, and it is impossible for me to put a screen on without getting a bubble or a speck under it. I just can't manage it.
Oh, they have like the new ones you buy now. They come with like little jigs that you put your phone in, and then it just flows over it,
I've tried that.
Lines everything up.
But I may try it again. I may do that again because it is protects the screen, but also keeps it, clean, which is.
Well, I'm looking at mine and I'm noticing that there's a giant bubble at the top that I haven't even cared about for.
Just gives it some character.
But then you look at these high schoolers' phones that have so many cracks in the screen.
Yeah. Oh my gosh!
Well, come on, what's the little bubble in the screen compared to all those cracks?
Oh, it gives me the heebie-jeebies when I see these kids' screens. Oh.
Well, and now phones have like all those cameras protruding off the back, so now you need glass camera protectors to put on the back cameras on the back too. I
know. So. I mean, it's not like these things aren't hundreds and hundreds of dollars in your pocket.
That they could have spent $5.
They're more than my car cost in high school.
Yeah, so. Right. Yeah. Right. So think about that. Phone cases, screen protectors. Father, you had something about speaker protector stickers. I don't know. I haven't heard of those before.
So there's just little stickers that you can put on the bottom of the phone on the speakers, and it stops the dust from getting up in the speakers. I think the newer iPhones, they've kind of addressed that by making the case a little better. But if you have like an iPhone 11 or earlier that has kind of the openness of those speakers, it's a way to cover them up. And it doesn't muffle the sound at all or anything. The other thing that you occasionally on cleaning, especially if you have very linty pockets, sometimes your sound might be muffled on your phone because lint gets built up in the speaker holes. Be careful, but even something like a toothpick or something can help get some of that lint out.
Well, the other one is if lint gets inside the either lightning port or USB port, whatever your phone has, it can prevent your cables from making a solid connection. Yep. And it can be just enough that it doesn't go in all the way, but it doesn't feel like it's like there's something in there. So you just look in there, even with a flashlight, hold it up and look in there, and don't use anything metal. A toothpick is a perfect thing because wood is non-conductive, and gently pull out any lint that's in there. Gently. You don't want to break anything.
Pretend it's your phone's belly button or something.
Right.
But,
right.
But they do make.
Gucci.
Yeah, they do make yeah, and they do make rubber like USB-C plugs that are very small, and they just go into that port. If you're not using your USB-C port every day, that's, I think, a good option because it just sits in there and keeps the dust out. If your phone case doesn't already have like a flap to protect it. The only thing is that if you are like plugging it in your car and then going home and plugging in at night, you'll lose those little plugs like so quickly. And
Right.
they're like 20 for, $8, but it's still like they're gone. And but if you don't use your port that often because you're wireless charging or something, it's a pretty good option.
Right. And, make cleaning a routine. Put it on your reminders. Clean your phone. I'd say clean your phone once a week. Like, I think that's a minimum, frankly. Clean your AirPods and your headphones. Your ears are gross. Just clean them off. Clean inside like if you have AirPods, clean inside the case. Get in there with a Q-tip and some isopropyl alcohol and clean inside where they go inside the case. And frankly, if you look at it and you clean the airwax out of the holes, you're going to get better sound out of your headphones.
Yeah, that's true.
You'll be able to hear things.
I don't know why there are used AirPods on eBay. It just
oh no, I mean no. I'm not. Yeah, people share AirPods. My wife was like, "Oh, let me borrow your AirPods." No, oh, you. I'll buy you your own set. Yeah, but people share them. All right, so yeah, regular maintenance is a big one, and then just the normal cleaning, keep things clean. One thing if you keep a microfiber cloth on you when you're out and you want to take pictures with your phone, just wipe the lens off before you do it. You're going to find you're going to get much nicer pictures from that very expensive phone, if you wipe all of the finger oils and dust and whatnot off of that. So just a tip.
And public service announcement, put it in portrait mode.
Yes, hold your phone sideways.
Yeah. Unless you're going for that 1950s Vaseline on the camera lens, like softened glamour filter, but you can just like use a filter for that. You don't need your fingerprints to.
Like you're filming Yeoman Rand in a shot. All right, so I think those are all of our primary cleaning tech tips and tools. So if you all have any questions about cleaning tech, I do want to mention, I'm going to put a link in the show notes. Apple has an extensive support document on how to clean your Apple products. They go through everything. They talk about different types of cleaning materials and solutions. It's very extensive.
And they don't even try to sell you their $40 cleaning cloth on it.
Oh man.
No, they do let you get away with using, the stuff you get from the CVS down at the corner. So very good. So before we move on, I want to take a moment to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create the Secrets of Technology, including Kyle J, Kevin S, Matthew B, Dan S, and Dion R. Their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue the Secrets of Technology and all the shows at StarQuest. And you can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. So I want to move on to some headlines. This was an interesting one to me, that Microsoft has plans to kill off third-party printer drivers in Windows. And all the Windows Windows users rejoiced, especially the admins.
Yeah, the people searching for that Epson driver CD from 2003 or whatever.
Yeah, so Apple did this a while ago. It's not that you can't install
a long time ago.
Yeah, it's not that you can't install a third-party driver, but most printers work out of the box. Just you plug them in, you open the printer settings, and you tell it to search for a driver for it, and it will usually come up with something. And that is so much better than the way it used to be. I mean, I remember having to go to the Epson site, and I am on Mac OS. I have this version of the operating system. I have this particular model of printer, and trying to figure out what that is. And then there's 3 different drivers I could possibly download, and which do I download? And it didn't work, and all that nonsense that you can constantly having to deal with drivers. Just having it built into the operating system is so much better. What do y'all think of this? Is this going to be the nirvana for Windows users?
They're playing about a decade behind everyone else on this one.
Yeah.
But I mean, isn't that kind of their slogan at this point?
Yeah. I mean, I guess there are people who still print things. I mean, but yeah, I do occasionally, and I can't remember because I have brother, laser printers. I can't remember the last time I installed a driver.
For a brother, really?
Yeah. It must happen.
I always have to search drivers for brothers. That's why I call them bothers.
I don't know. Maybe, yeah.
The one on the Mac that still requires a separate driver is the Dymo label printers, which for some reason is separate. They got to get on the ball. I like having a label printer, but it's such a hassle. And the last time I had it connected to my Mac, it was giving me all kinds of errors and problems and conflicts. And I just it's in the closet now. And I miss it because I like being able to print postage and print labels, and they can't. And they got to get their act together. Now,
are they killing off the complete ability to use these drivers, or just for them to be built into this operating system?
They're phasing out the Windows Update installation of drivers. So in 2025, no new printer drivers will be published to Windows Update. Existing drivers can still be updated, but in 2026, driver ranking will be tweaked to bring the built-in drivers to the top, like the Windows drivers, inbuilt drivers versus the third-party driver. And by 2027, except for security-related fixes, no printer driver updates will be allowed. So you got a few years. My guess is, if some customer of Microsoft with 50,000 installations of Windows comes along and says, yeah, we have all these printers in all of our buildings that won't work, you need to put this off. I have a feeling Microsoft will change their tune, but hopefully that's not the case.
So in Windows 12, remember Windows 10 was the last version of Windows.
Yep.
In Windows 12, we won't be able to use our dot matrix printers anymore.
Probably not. You'll have to find an old version of XP to run that. Oh, I get that sound in my head now. That and the modems. Now, from Microsoft to Apple, over the summer, France said, "Oh, your iPhone 12 has too much radiation." How's my outrageous French accent?
It's pretty good.
Yeah. So France was going to order Apple to stop selling the iPhone 12, which is admittedly a 3 or 4 year old phone, but also to recall every iPhone 12 ever sold in the country because it was emitting more radiation than they thought was prudent and safe, even though Apple passed the tests in the rest of the EU and the rest of the world. And it's a very specific, there's something called the specific absorption rate. And there's two different measurements. One where it's in close contact with your body, such as in your pocket, and another one when you're holding it at arm's length. And the one where it's in your pocket cannot exceed 4 watts per kilogram. And it was they measured it at 5.74 watts per kilogram. Apple was disputing it. There was back and forth. However, everything is copacetic now because Apple has issued, even though they said there was no problem, they have issued an update to the software that apparently lowered the radiation, the power that being emitted through the antenna to iPhone 12s in France. So it's kind of interesting. So French users, if your signal seems to be worse than it used to be, thank your government's watchdog on that.
May cause cancer in the state of California.
Right.
Yeah.
And nowhere else. I bring this up because we did have a listener who mentioned, like, hey, you guys haven't talked about this. And so I wanted to bring it up to mention that, yes, it was France had brought up this issue. It was debatable, but also Apple addressed it. And as of the iPhone 15, they have stopped selling the iPhone 12 everywhere anyway. It's now iPhone 13, 14, and 15. They always sell like the latest 3.
The interesting thing on this is that while they're doing that, the latest iPhone was like burning people's hands off because it was so hot.
Well, it was it was in certain circumstances the battery would run hot, especially it had to do with specific apps I remember I'm not prepared to talk about it, but I remember reading about it that it was a specific combination of apps. And that's why I didn't get caught in the beta period, because it was very specific circumstances.
And Apple also shortened their beta periods for that last iOS too. So there's some.
Wasn't that much shorter. It was, June to September.
The beta that was on the new devices that they did was a shortened period or something.
Well, no, see, the reason it didn't get caught is because it only occurs on the 15. And so only once enough people had the 15 in hand with iOS 17 could it get out there. That's what it is. That's right.
Yeah, they have like an initial test group with the new phone, and they they kind of have pulled that back because there was too many leaks with it and stuff.
Right, but even if you have thousands of testers, that's not the same thing as having millions of new 10 million phones in the first several weeks, and that's a big test group. I didn't have any of those issues. Now, one thing is your phone will run hot and run slower for the first week or so after you set it up, because all of that on-device stuff that it does for privacy's sake has to be rebuilt. All of the facial recognition of your photos, all of that indexing is going on in the background on your phone. So that plus this other issue with this particular software was causing, I'm going to guess it was Instagram or some Facebook app or something, because Facebook's apps are notoriously poorly coded. But that's a whole nother issue. So let's talk about this last story, which is the new chair of the Federal Communications Commission in the U.S. has proposed to restore the net neutrality rules that were set aside in the Trump administration. These rules were set up in the Obama administration when Trump took office, and his FCC commissioners were in control of the panel. They set the rules aside, and now that there's a majority of Biden's people are on the commission, they're putting them back in place. Well, one of the things that occurs to me is what was the result of the net neutrality rules on a practical level? What did we suffer from when these rules were set aside over the past 6 years? Like, were there any noticeable violations of net neutrality that had been reported? Because I couldn't find anything.
I think what happened during that same period of time was that the bandwidth of availability for most people greatly increased. And so there wasn't really a noticeable difference because of that increase of bandwidth. And so around that same period of time was when you started seeing fiber laid into your normal neighborhood. And so most of the internet connections of the average suburban American right now is overkill. And so you really didn't see it. I would see it sometimes out in rural areas that smaller websites were more difficult to get on than bigger websites. And my internet speed on watching things on YouTube or getting on the Microsoft's website was much quicker than websites that would ordinarily not be slow. Now there's other things of like, well, they just are running slow servers, right? But there was some noticeable lag in some of the rural areas that we didn't have the same level of bandwidth. So I think if you had if the bandwidth wasn't increased when the net neutrality was taken away, then you probably would have noticed more of a problem.
What do you think, Victor?
Yeah, I'm kind of on the other side of this. I'm very skeptical of net neutrality. What's motivating it, what's behind it. You look at, why shouldn't we regulate our, internet connections like our public utilities? And then you look at our electrical grid, which is, I would say, not resilient and has suffered from a lack of innovation and investment in innovative technologies. And I can see, anytime you add regulation like this, it tends to kill innovation. So, which is bad for the consumer. We're regulating, connections now, but how long before we start regulating content? Where does it end is kind of my point of view. So I'm very laissez-faire, hands off when it comes to this. So I'm, more skeptical of this.
Isn't the neutrality more the neutrality is more to not regulate than to regulate.
Well,
this is
that's the
what
question.
they call I mean, I mean, you're going to need oversight. You're going to need regulation to enforce, whatever price controls or bandwidth controls are going to put in. So it's one of those where it's like, the free puppies for everyone bill where,
So we should describe what is usually meant by net neutrality, which is all bandwidth travels at the same rate. Like, so the traffic to a small website gets the same priority on the limited pipes of the internet as Amazon or Google. And without net neutrality, Google or Amazon could pay to get preferred speeds. They could get the fast lane, say, if you want to think of it as like a highway. So they get a preferred fast lane that's just for them, and everyone else has to share the rest of the road in the clogged up roads. And so that would require regulation to say you can't have paid prioritization for it. So that is a regulation issue.
Yep.
The question is bandwidth at this point so wide that prioritization isn't a big deal? Or, as you're saying, because people were getting so much more bandwidth so quickly, or are we going to get to a point where that excess of bandwidth is going to get filled up enough where we're going to start to feel the difference between stuff that gets priority and the stuff that doesn't? I tend to fall on the I don't like government regulation side of things, but I also don't like corporate backroom dealing to harm the little guy. And so I feel conflicted about this.
You'll still get the corporate backroom dealing. It'll just be less transparent.
Right.
Yeah.
So one of the examples of how we did see this happen was some of the cell phone companies would have their own streaming services that they gave you free data to do the streaming. And you would notice increased quality on the streaming versus what you would be doing on other streaming sites. And so that was being done on some of the cell phone companies. And I would say that we're talking about bandwidth right now on my plugged in connection. I think still on towns without 5G, bandwidth is still a thing that is limited. And so I'm not sure if this is being applied to cell phone companies or not, because they kind of have their own little niche on things. So
yeah, and I'm not sure if I feel like that's a bad thing, that if they want to provide a better access to particular service for their customers, whether that's they have a deal with Disney Plus, say, and T-Mobile users get better access to Disney Plus than they do to Netflix over their T-Mobile phone. I don't know. I mean, yeah. I don't feel bad about that. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. It's competition, I guess. I don't know. It's just, I think some of it depends on your philosophy of what is the internet. Is it a common carrier? Is it like the airwaves that we should all own it in common? Or is it like the utilities, like the electrical poles? The idea of what the internet is still something I think that's in flux, and we all haven't kind of come down in one common idea of it. And until we do, I think I'm going to feel conflicted about this myself, because I don't know how I want the internet to be, because there is give and take for every way you look at the internet.
Now, remember, a large amount of the country with internet providers during COVID since March of 2020, you always had this thing that you technically have a data cap on your bills. A lot of your internet service providers stopped enforcing data caps the last couple years over the whole stay-at-home orders and all of that. And so some of this, I think, also was non-noticeable because corporate regulation on things was greatly relaxed during COVID on a lot of realms of things. So
right. And the more remote work there is, the more people at home there is, the more there's going to be, at-home schooling, the more there's going to be a push to make everything equal, more neutral in that. So I feel like it is likely that's where we're going with things.
Yeah, and so you're making the argument, and we could do a whole show on this. Is the internet a public utility? I mean, that's what it boils down to, is the question, do we consider it a luxury or a public utility? Is it the same as a telephone, or is it something entirely different?
Or is it the public commons? Is it a publicly owned space? Should it be something that is owned by all and not by a company? That there's some questions there about, where does it fall in the hierarchy of needs of a society? Is it, like you say, a luxury, an extra? I think we're all pretty clear it's not a luxury anymore. Is it something that should be considered a utility? Is it something that should be considered like the public commons, like airwaves that get licensed, but is owned by the people through the government and, licensed by the government? Those are some interesting questions that I think.
Which it's similar to what the FCC is to radio waves and television stations.
Exactly. Over the air television. Right. This is definitely something that we should come back and talk more about. And I think because it is so nebulous at this point.
Yeah,
definitely. All right, so let's move on to our picks of the week. And Victor, you're up first. What's your pick this week?
Yeah, mine is very low tech, but it's something I've been using a lot. I do 3D printing. I fix things, plastic things that break, and I've been using super glue for most of my repairs. But it takes a long time to set up. Comparatively, it gets all over your fingers. It doesn't always make the strongest bond. But lately I've been using this acrylic plastic cement. It's, number 16 acrylic plastic cement. It's, some sort of acetone and who knows what else in it. But it actually, for just about every plastic I've tried it on, whether it's, the PLA from 3D printing or PET, or I used it to fix a surge protector where inside a plastic bracket had broken. And but what it actually does is it actually melts the plastic and infuses it together. It sets up very quickly. So if you find yourself, fixing things, gluing pieces of plastic together, and have been using super glue for that, you might want to give this a try. Use it in a well-ventilated area. I haven't, gotten dizzy or anything from using it, but once it starts acting on the plastic, it does, smell kind of plasticky as it's fusing the plastic. But so low tech, but better living through chemistry there.
Like super glue, they claim, you can bond ceramics and other metals, other things, wood, where this is very specifically for plastic things.
Yeah. I mean, super glue basically is, a rubberized liquid that goes into, imperfections on the surface of two surfaces and then dries. And, the glue is the bond, and this actually, melts the plastic and fuses it together. It cements it. So it's a much stronger bond. It sets up very quickly. But it won't work on ceramics or wood or anything like that.
There's a whole world of glues and epoxies out there.
There are, yeah.
That are better than the over-the-counter stuff you find just at the the local hardware store. The super glues and that sort of stuff. There's some stuff out there that really is good at repairing very specific things, but they're specialized. And I want to learn more about some of that stuff, because I get really tired of throwing away half full tubes of super glue that have solidified. And
that leads us to our newest SQPN show, The Secrets of Glue and Epoxy.
Sticking together for more than 20 years.
Today's episode, JB Weld.
You have to do it in the NPR voice. That would make it complete.
Yeah.
So, excellent. Very good. The number 16 acrylic plastic cement. Father Joseph, what's your pick this week?
My pick this week is called the Books e-ink tablet. And so I have right here, it's called a Books tablet. And so it's an e-ink based tablet. So like your Kindles, but it's a fully functional Android tablet and uses a pen and all of that. So works really good with writing notes and works really good for reading. So I've really enjoyed, I've had it about a year now and have really liked what I've got. And I have I think it's a Nova Air 2, which is like a 5-inch version, but they make them up to like 8.5 by 11, like a normal sheet of paper. So,
wow.
The beauty is it has a nice backlight to it and everything. So,
and you said it's a fully functional Android tablet. So does that mean that it has the Kindle app on it?
You can install the Kindle app on it. It does come with the Google Play Store on it. So
Okay.
the earlier versions of it did not have the Google Play Store on it. They had their own proprietary thing, which if you know about proprietary stores that aren't the Google Play Store, they're not very good. So I think, if I'm remembering right, I think I'm running Android 11 on it. So it's not the newest version, but I'm guessing the new ones have the more up to date.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Reason I bring that up is because if someone's got a Kindle and they want to do something that's not, another Kindle from Amazon, they could still have access to all their Kindle books if the Kindle app is on there. So just something to keep in mind.
I still have all my Kindle books on there, and it works wonderfully. The Verbum app works really good on it. So now I can finally read my Verbum app, my books I have on Verbum on for those who don't know, Verbum is Bible software, Catholic Bible software that's I use a lot for preaching prep.
Nice. Very good. Excellent.
Yeah, and I like they see they have a color display now, and I like because it's e-ink, it has kind of those muted, soft, low saturated colors on it, and yeah, that looks really cool.
Slightly more than a Kindle, though. Like, I think my version is in the $300 range. So I was ready for a new iPad, but I wasn't ready for a new iPad. So, or I couldn't defend buying an iPad when I had a MacBook Air, and I really, I haven't.
So the Note Air 2, which seems to be somewhere in the middle, is let's see, the Note Air 2. That's like $450. So it's slightly more than a bottom line iPad, but competitive. So it's an alternative to the big guys. So that's good. Excellent. So my pick this week is a little bit of software called AirBuddy, available on SetApp, of course. And what this does is
there's nothing in the rules that say a dog can't play basketball.
Oh boy,
that was a deep cut there.
Yeah, AirBud. So what this does is it lets you you can connect your AirPods to your Mac if you have AirPods on a Mac. It just like you can any Bluetooth device. But it out of the box, it doesn't have the same nice functionality that it does when you connect it to your iPhone or your iPad. It gets that little thing that pops up on the screen, and it shows you the charge and the AirPods and that sort of thing. Well, AirBuddy lets you do that on your Mac, and so that you hold your AirPods near your Mac, you flip open the lid, and it says, "Hey, you want to connect this to the Mac?" And you just click on it, and it connects. It's very simple. Doesn't need to do a lot more than that. It's the basic functionality right there. So it's just a nice little quality of life thing that it. One thing it does do is it will send you battery alerts when your devices are running low on battery, when your AirPods or Studio Buds, like it'll work with other even non-Apple AirPod devices. It'll track their charge and let you know when the battery charge is getting low. Even on other devices, Macs, your Apple Watch, that sort of stuff, anything that's on your account. So yeah, it's a nice little device, nice little piece of software for connecting things to your Mac. All right, and those are our picks of the week, and that is our show. We would love to know what you thought of anything we had to talk about in our discussion today. You can let us know by commenting on the show at sqpn.com/technology or the StarQuest Facebook page, facebook.com/StarQuestMedia, or send an email to technology@sqpn.com, or visit the StarQuest Discord community at sqpn.com/Discord. You'll find links from our discussion and our picks of the week on our show notes at starquest.fm/TEC231. You can follow the Secrets of Tech in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, your favorite podcast app, or on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/StarQuestMedia, where you should also hit the bell to get notifications. Until next time, Father Joseph Sund, thank you for joining me and sharing the secrets of technology.
You're welcome.
Victor Lambs, thank you as well.
Thanks, Dom.
And once again, I'm Dom Bettinelli. Thank you for listening to the Secrets of Technology on StarQuest.